Hey everyone, it's time for my wrap up of everything that I read in the months of January through to February. It was a pretty good 3 months. For the most part, these books are all 4 stars with a few little curveballs in there. First up, I finished The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. This is the 3rd book in his Dark Materials series, so that means I've actually read the full series, although there is a sequel series that is currently being written, and there's a few little novellas which I may read. This one I gave 4 stars, although it is with caveats. Some of the content in this I find a little bit on the nose. There's no question that Philip Pullman is a great writer, and they're very enjoyable to read, these books. But yeah, I can't give it my full endorsement, and I will do a full review of this book. So you can check out that for my thoughts when I get around to doing that. Alrighty. Next up I read 3000... Oh, is that good? Yep. Next up, I read 3001 by Arthur C. Clarke. Obviously, this is part of the 2001 series. This is the final book, and I think it is a worthy ending to the series. These books are very enjoyable. I really like Arthur C. Clarke's writing, and this was towards the end of his career, so his writing had definitely improved over all those years. One thing some of the older science fiction writers get accused of is having terrible characterization and unbelievable characters, and I find that's not the case with Arthur C. Clarke in these later books. So this one I give a solid 4 stars to. Next up, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. I was really looking forward to this because I did enjoy Piranesi, but this one, the writing is great, but it just doesn't seem to go anywhere. It does go somewhere, but it's kind of like, oh, whatever. I got to the ending and it was like, yeah, I could kind of see some of that coming. There weren't any really big surprises, maybe one. I have a full review of this. Basically, it's just too long. Maybe if it was half the size, I would have given this 4, but as is, I can only give this one 3.5. I'm glad I read it though. It was for the most part enjoyable, and some people absolutely love this book, so don't just take my word for it. So what do you do after you've finished a 1,000-page book like this? You have a light palate cleanser, and that's what the 4th book in the How to Train Your Dragon series is, How to Cheat a Dragon's Curse by Cressida Cowell. This is just pure, light, fun entertainment. Very silly. Am I holding this okay? There's a lot of reflection on this. How's that? Oh, maybe there. Okay, I'm going to hold my hand really steady. I like how in each of these books the map gets expanded or changed in some way. In this one it's winter time, and so the map is changed to reflect that. Otherwise this is just light fun. It deals with nice concepts like loyalty to friends. These are easy 4-star reads for me. Next up we have The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul by Of the Soul by Douglas Adams. This is the 2nd in the Dirk Gently series. There were only 2, although there is a 3rd one that was half finished, The Salmon of Doubt, which I will be reading next. And one interesting thing about this series I realized, Douglas Adams you generally think of as sci-fi, but really I think I would call this urban fantasy. I think this one is just as good as the first one, and it has some of the quirks of the first one, including an ending that is a little bit weird. But on the whole, these are really enjoyable, so this is another 4-star. Next up, Forest of Doom by Ian Livingstone. This is part of my Fighting Fantasy read-through. This is book number 3. So this is the first one that Ian Livingstone wrote by himself, and it does have some interesting design choices, so I will detail those when I come to make my video about this book. This again is an easy 4-star. Next up is The High King by Lloyd Alexander. This is the 5th and final book in the Chronicles of Prydain. And you know how sometimes books end and series come to an end, and you're not quite satisfied by the ending. This book does not have that problem. The ending of this book just wraps up the entire series in a beautiful way. This was a series of books that were written in the 1960s, and they're well worth your time if you want to see some of the beginnings of early fantasy, way before kind of the rise of 1970s and particularly 1980s fantasy. This is a children's series, but I never feel like it's talking down to children. It's definitely a series that adults can enjoy. Probably the best thing about this series, and in particular the last 2 books, is that the main character Taryn really struggles with a lot of moral choices throughout the books and makes very wise decisions. And that's just really nice to see in a series of books. I can't recall the scores I gave to the other books in this series off the top of my head, but this one I'm giving 4.5. I think this is probably the best of the entire series. Highly recommended. And so we come to the last book, and I actually haven't finished this. I still have about 100 pages to go, but I pretty much know how I'm going to score this. It is The Confusion by Neal Stephenson. This is the second book in the Baroque cycle. Now, I gave Quicksilver, the first book, 3 stars, and I'm giving this one 3 stars as well. There are moments where I can see the Neal Stephenson I love in this book, but for the most part, like the first book, I feel like there is not much plot. And so this has been a real chore for me to read. They're really big pages as well. So even though this is only 815 pages, this was published as 2 mass market paperbacks, and I think the total page count is probably about 1,200. So unfortunately, yes, I'm kind of looking forward to finishing this one and getting on to some other stuff. So there's a whole lot of 4 stars in there. If I have to put these in rank order, I would say, unfortunately, that one with the 3 stars is at the bottom. Then we've got Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell on 3.5 stars. Then we get all the 4 stars. So I've got the 4th How to Train Your Dragon book, The Forest of Doom, The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul, and the Amber Spyglass. On the top of the 4 stars, I reckon 3001. If you haven't read this series, really, it is very good. Which means my book of the month is The High King by Lloyd Alexander. Let me know what you think of these in the comments. I always love hearing your comments, and I always make sure that I reply to them. And somewhere around here, you should soon see my video for my TBR of April, May, and June. I'll see you in that one. See you later.